Hey everybody, it's B-Mac again for mealtime. Today we are smoking a brisket. Now I'm gonna share with you a little bit of a different spin on a brisket. Basically, this is because of issues I've had with perfect timing for a party. So in this case, my daughter's birthday party is about 48 hours from now. I wanna smoke this brisket a full day ahead so that I can let it cool in the oven and then I can put it in the refrigerator. And then what I'm gonna do is slice it the day of the party cold, and then all I have to do, the meat's cooked, it hasn't been touched, we're gonna reheat it in the oven as the party starts. The reason for this is I've had issues in the past, like I said, about 10 years ago, I was so excited. I had a party, I researched how long it should take based on the weight of the meat, based on the temperature. Ultimately, it wasn't ready when everyone got there and the party was started, and I was embarrassed. And talking to a lot of people who've cooked briskets, that happens a lot. Briskets are, they're a fickle beast and they can take longer than you expect. So this is gonna make your day of your event more stress-free, because you're gonna know, I cooked the brisket to temp, it's sitting in the refrigerator. All I have to do is slice it, put it in a pan, cover it, and heat it up for a couple hours on a really low, nice heat. And that way, at any point when your guests are ready to eat, you pull it out of the oven, it's soft, it's juicy, and it tastes amazing. I've also actually done this ahead of time so that when I slice it, I don't lose any of the juices because you're slicing it cold. And then I actually put it in bags and I vacuum seal it, put it in the freezer, and I have brisket for the next month or two. So either way, it works perfectly. So I picked up a 12-pound full packer brisket today from Costco. They were a great deal, by the way. Got it at $3.79 a pound, humble brag. But the first thing you want to do with your brisket is you do need to trim it up a bit, especially when you get the full brisket. So we are cooking the point and the flat together today. And like I said before, we're not making burnt ends today. We're gonna slice the whole thing up nice and thin, but there is some trimming we want to do. Now, I don't over trim my brisket, especially when I'm having a family event, a picnic. There's a lot of good meat on there. We're not doing a competition, and I don't want to have to overdo it or lose any meat. As you can see on the point, we're going to take off a lot of this fat cap right here on the front. You can see on the front here, there's a lot of silver skin. We want to make sure that we remove all this silver skin on top. It's not really, doesn't taste that good. We also, on the back side, are going to need to take off quite a bit of this. So the back side is the full fat. I'm going to get a lot of that off. I'm looking for about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of fat. Not too worried about it, but you do want a nice level product. And then the only other thing is these sides, I'm gonna square it up a little bit, take off some of the end pieces, the little chewy pieces on the end, just to get a nice trimmed up brisket. Certainly don't worry about this step too much. Everything's gonna render down, but if you can get some of the thick fatty parts off the point, that's gonna be good. That's the only other thing I wanted to show you is just around here is just on the point of if there's some really deep, thick white pockets, that's not gonna render down. You can get your knife in there and cut chunks out, and it'll be a better product. And it'll probably cook a little bit quicker too. So I'll go ahead and show you how I trim my brisket for family and friends. It looks way better. All right, so I got the brisket trimmed. Definitely didn't overdo it. Left a lot of meat, took off the fat I could see, and squared it up a bit. So we're gonna do a nice layer of yellow mustard. I always buy the cheapest I can. It's just a binder. You don't taste the mustard. I think most barbecue people know that. Lightly season the seasoning, and then we're using this Jack Stack rub, the meat and poultry rub. I literally put it on chicken. I put it on my beef brisket. I actually put it on a lot of fish. I actually use it for other things than smoking too, when I'm just grilling chicken in a pan or something. Nice thing for those in Kansas City, it's by far the best deal. It's only $9.99 at Costco for a giant tub, whereas small little packages can cost up to $6 at Hy-Vee. So you get a lot of bang for your buck. Jack Stack is a staple in Kansas City. And this is their all-purpose meat and poultry rub. Okay. So it's about 4:30 at night here on a Friday. So I'm gonna let it marinate for 8 hours, just let that seasoning absorb into the meat a little bit. But I'm actually gonna throw the brisket onto my smoker around 11 p.m. or midnight.
8 hours later.
All right, it's midnight. We got the smoker running at 225 degrees. There's always something really fun about getting barbecue going in the middle of the night. It feels right, it feels primal. We're gonna let it smoke 8 to 9 hours, depending on when I get up. We'll be back in the morning. 7:45 a.m. Brisket's been smoking for almost 8.5, 9 hours. See how the brisket's looking. Ooh, oh, that looks good. As you can see, by the magic of the internet, got a few extra pieces of meat in here. Surely you didn't think that one brisket would be enough for my party, so this is the bonus meat. I love bonus meat. Another brisket and a couple pork shoulders. Brisket looks fantastic, has an amazing bark on it. Tasted a couple crunchy pieces as always, unbelievably good flavor. Gonna throw a couple pads of butter on it, give it a little moisture over top as we put it in the oven. I'm gonna monitor it for the next 4 to 5 hours until it hits an internal temperature of exactly 195 degrees. At that point, I'm gonna pull the thermometer out and I'm gonna let it sit for 3 or 4 hours. Wrap it up. Make sure all parts of the brisket are covered. I'm not gonna wrap it too tight. The brisket's wrapped. The 4 tablespoons of butter are put over top. We got the thermometer in the thickest part of the point. Right now, they're reading both at about 170 degrees. I'm throwing it in the oven. It's about 8 o'clock right now, so I'm looking about midday for that temperature to rise to 195 degrees. At that point, I'm gonna pull the thermometer out and I'm gonna leave it in the oven for another 3 or 4 hours after I turn the oven off. That way it cools down, absorbs all the juices, doesn't lose any moisture. Then we're not gonna unwrap it. We're simply gonna put the entire tray of cooled down meat into the refrigerator and we'll see you tomorrow morning. My party's at 4 p.m., so I plan on getting this sliced up around 1 so I can put it back in the oven and start reheating for my party. Hey, it's 1 p.m. day of my party. Got guests coming over in about 3 hours. I've been running around all day. The wife's been having me like a chicken with my head cut off, running around getting stuff done. The one thing I haven't had to worry about was my smoker, the brisket temp. I just felt so good that this thing was done, sitting in the fridge, ready for me to slice it up. So I want to go over a couple key points today. We're gonna slice this brisket fat side down. As you can see, you got lines with this brisket on the flat. They're coming this way. You want to cut across the grain to get a really good pull when the meat reheats. And then on the end, this part here is the point. I'm actually gonna separate this fatty part. There's a line that runs right through here that's really easy to see, especially when it's cold. I'm gonna separate it off. I'm gonna cut the flat completely, and then I'm gonna turn this and I'm gonna cut the point against the grain as well. But I'm gonna cut it into 2, separate it and slice them separately, put it into a metal pan, cover it in foil. All the different fat drippings, all that cold fat, I'm actually gonna throw back in there. It's just gonna reheat for moisture and for more flavor. With these briskets, when I slice them cold, it's just such perfect slices. And when you reheat them, it looks so nice. When you slice brisket warm, it is very hard to get a nice even slice. My next step, I'm gonna put it all into a metal pan, cover it in foil. If you have any like fat or reserved jelly-like substance in your pans from when you had it cooling, I like to put that right into the tray so that it all warms back up and gives the brisket a really nice moisture. I'm gonna put this in the oven around 225, 240, next 2.5 hours until guests arrive, and it'll be perfect and ready to go. Oh, look at these beautifully thin sliced of brisket. My God. Brisket's done. I warmed it up at 240 degrees, just under 2 hours. Let's take a look how it came out. Hoo, 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 hoo. Ha ha ha. Let's take a look at a few of these pieces, huh? Oh yeah, so delicate. It has that amazing bounce. It pulls apart just like we want, but it doesn't fall apart, right? So if you follow my temperature guide and my step-by-step, this brisket can be yours. Pulls apart and just melts in your mouth. Oh, this process takes the guesswork out of it and it really just delivers a consistent product every time. So I'm gonna get set up for a party, get all the food laid out, and I'm confident my guests are in for a really good treat.
That's the B-Mac face right there.
That's Johnny face. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.